Coming up on the Angus Report, a look back on the 2017 markets with CattleFax's CEO Randy Blach. He shares a glimpse into 2018 predictions.
Beef production is likely to grow another 1 billion pounds. We'll see another 1 billion pounds of growth in pork and poultry as well.
Why low-stress cattle handling should be a priority for every cattleman and woman. The future of Angus genetics is in good hands. We look at American Angus Association's newest genetic test, Angus GS. Then we visit Fred Frey, a Pennsylvania Angus rancher. The loss of his dad in 1948 made him head of the household and ranch at age 16. This is the Angus Report. Hello and welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Bob Cervera. Our top news this week. 2017 has been a solid year for cattle markets, and producers at every level of production have been able to turn a profit. CattleFax CEO Randy Blach says that's not often the case. We caught up with Randy at the 2017 Angus Convention in Fort Worth. He shared a 2017 recap.
There's a great story with what's going on in the industry today. We've got all segments of the industry that have been profitable. That doesn't happen very often. All segments of production, all segments of marketing and distribution have been profitable. That tells you demand for our product has been excellent in 2017. Not only domestically, but also globally. We've seen exports that are up double digits on beef.
Randy also talked about his predictions for the upcoming year during his keynote speech during this year's convention. Here he is again with a look into next year's cattle markets.
Well, when we look at the markets going into 2018, we're still growing the nation's beef cow herd. The cow herd we expect will grow another 600,000 to 700,000 head in this next year. We'll have more fed cattle as well. Beef production is likely to grow another 1 billion pounds. We'll see another 1 billion pounds of growth in pork and poultry as well. So 3% more total protein supply. Obviously, we're going to need demand to stay strong. We're going to need to continue to expand our exports as a result of that.
Experts say American farmers and ranchers will be one of the groups most negatively affected once countries involved in the Trans-Pacific Partnership Deal strike an agreement without the U.S. Some say the new trade deal could be rolled out early next year. A November 11th joint news release reports that just a few weeks ago, TPP countries made significant progress toward a deal. The 11 countries involved include Japan, Canada, and Mexico. 10 months ago, the United States withdrew from TPP despite strong support for the trade deal from the agricultural stakeholders. National Cattlemen's Beef Association was a huge advocate for TPP, citing a 19% drop in Japanese tariffs, which would have lowered prices of U.S. beef and made the product more competitive in that Asian market. In fact, NCBA estimates that the beef industry is losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every day in sales due to the high Japanese tariffs. However, some industry leaders, such as the American Farm Bureau Federation, are hopeful that the U.S. could join the trade agreement at some time in the future. Most people don't like much stress or change in their lives, and cattle are no different. But sometimes producers don't prioritize or implement low-stress cattle handling methods. Ron Gill is a professor and extension livestock specialist at Texas A&M University. He's also a cattle handling pro, and he advocates for proper handling methods, which can improve efficiency and increase animal well-being. Here's what he says about the subject.
As we talk about livestock handling and trying to reduce the stress on cattle and the people working them, we have to try to understand how a cow likes to be communicated with. It kind of sounds a little far-fetched, but they live their life by using their eyesight and hearing. And so if we learn how to position ourselves where they can better understand what we're asking them to do, we'll normally get a more consistent and less stressful response to them, and we don't have to force them to go. The other part of it is if we can handle them better, we get better performance out of the cattle. And that's a big thing to all of us. We want higher reproductive rates, we want better gains, that's what we make our living doing. And so if we can use these handling techniques to improve all of that, I don't see why we wouldn't. The welfare component is really important, and we need to be able to, anybody could come watch us work cattle and they not have a problem with the way we do it. And so if we don't understand that behavior, we're going to get in a fight with the cow sometimes, and that doesn't translate. We understand it, but somebody watching from the outside will not understand that.
When you have calm cattle by nature, you already have an advantage when implementing low-stress cattle handling methods. Supply Development Director for Certified Angus Beef, Justin Sexton, thinks it's time for ranchers to pay more attention to cattle temperament. While docility is an important trait, it's often considered a convenience one. Not only are calmer cattle easier to handle, they also might perform better. Research from Texas A&M suggests that disposition affects performance throughout development. A&M looked at a group of more excitable heifers and a group of calmer heifers to compare their journey from pre-weaning to the processing plant. The more tranquil group had 72 pounds on the fast group. The calm heifers gained faster, but also consumed more feed. Still, the group of calm heifers were more efficient feed converters. Faster, less calm heifers were slower gaining and less efficient. Quiet heifers performed better on the rail, weighing 24 pounds more and cutting a larger ribeye than their flighty counterparts. The study produced consistent results compared to others that look at cattle temperament. Sexton suggests producers think about more than reproductive failure when determining which females to cull. He says you should keep whittling off the bottom 10 to 15% of the fast ones because those females could be undermining your profitability. Picking the best cattle from your herd just got easier thanks to Angus GS, a new genomic profile that's specifically built for Angus cattle. The American Angus Association released the new DNA test just last month. It offers producers a more accurate and powerful test at an affordable price. Angus GS has a full 50K for genomic prediction and added 10,000 new Angus gene markers to the core content. It's the best choice for Angus, and it gives producers a chance to genotype their entire herd. Knowing both sides of a mating is beneficial to producers so they can breed around less desirable traits and pass on valuable genetics. President of Angus Genetics Incorporated, Dan Mosier, says it's up to all of us to leverage the power of our massive genotype and performance database at Angus and unleash the full potential of genomics. As more Angus GS results are collected, scientists at AGI will continue to refine prediction accuracies for novel traits. There's no telling how far the technology will take the Angus breed. Visit angus.org/AGI to learn more about the groundbreaking new genetic testing that's available for the Angus breed. China's largest online retailer will buy $200 million of Montana beef over the next 3 years. That's 90,000 head of cattle. And while that represents less than 4% of the state's cattle sales per year, the agreement gives U.S. beef a highly anticipated entrance into the growing Chinese beef market. The Chinese market has great potential since the Asian country lifted its long-standing ban on American beef this summer. With 1.37 billion residents, the country is expected to consume almost 18 billion pounds of beef this year. U.S. beef has competition, though. Brazil, Uruguay, and Australia all offer more affordable beef. Aside from purchasing Montana beef, retailer JD.com has the potential to throw $100 million into a new processing facility. That's according to the trade deal. A location for the slaughterhouse is still up in the air and isn't likely to break ground for several months. If the processing plant is built in Montana, it would be the only commercial-scale meatpacking plant in the state. The last plant closed decades ago, and cattle typically have to be shipped out of the state for processing. It's important for producers to keep nutrition needs of their cows in mind when they turn them out on corn stalks after harvest. Carla Jenkins, University of Nebraska-Lincoln cow-calf specialist, prompts producers to devise a supplementation strategy. To estimate the amount of residue left in a field for cattle to graze, you first need to know the grain yield from that field. Jenkins said there's about 16 pounds of dry matter of leaves and husks for each bushel of grain produced, but only about 8 pounds of dry matter are available after trampling loss is taken into account. Producers must pay close attention to their cow's nutritional demands. A dry cow will demand very different needs, whereas late summer or fall calving cows with their nursing calves require a diet with much higher nutrient requirements. Talk to your local extension agent for more information regarding supplemental needs. When we return, we visit Fred Frey, a lifelong rancher and environmentalist who took over the family operation after his father passed away when Fred was only 16 years old. Then we hear from the newly crowned Miss American Angus. Visit angus.media to continue watching this episode of the Angus Report.